So we're on the floor of Denver Comic Con again, thinking outside the long box. Don't know why I said that because you've probably been listening to this episode for 2 hours already. But I am sitting here with one of my personal heroes. This is Terry Moore. He is the creator of Strangers in Paradise, Motor Girl, Rachel Rising. Terry, how are you doing today, man?
Well, I'm a little dingy because it's Sunday, but man, what a great weekend, and so I'm in a good mood. We've had a great show.
Awesome. So my first question for you is, you have created in Strangers in Paradise this world that is inhabited by very real, emotional people and assassins and yakuza and like killers and crazy violence. Where did you draw the inspiration to say, I want to make this this almost polyamorous relationship story blend with this incredible violence? Like, where did you take that inspiration?
Well, I feel like as a kid when I was growing up that my favorite entertainment seemed to have a lot of romance and hope and brightness to it. I'm thinking about the comedies and of the 60s and 70s. And a lot of them were about relationships and free love and all this kind of stuff. So balance that with, now I live in today's world. And today's world is not that way at all. So yeah, if you take somebody who grew up as a romantic and who worshipped women, and then you put them in today's world that it's really violent and dangerous and you need to be on your toes, you kind of get my books.
When you're like looking at creating like these characters, how is it that, I mean, it's kind of hard for me to explain because like when I'm reading them, they are real people. Like they come across as very real people. There are very few like comic writers that manage to evoke that sense of real people having real interactions. How do you approach your writing and how do you approach your art to evoke like those real emotions in people?
You know, it's weird. I think I'm just wired to write a certain way because when I look at my sketchbook from when I was 10 years old, and it has drawings of superheroes in it, but it also has like my first cartoon sequence, which is a guy and a girl having a relationship discussion. Who does that at the age of 10?
That does seem really kind of odd. At 10, I think I was still just like riding my bike around a lot.
I lived on my bike and then I drew Spider-Man and wondered how to draw muscles. But I also drew, I was always drawing boyfriend, girlfriend, talking heads, talking it out. And because there were jokes there for me to work with. And then, of course, when I got into school and started having girlfriends, I made every mistake. So then you start making jokes about that. And I guess I'm wired the same way that a comedian might be wired. It's not that I understand these things. It's that I won't let them go, and I keep exploring my failures and why are guys losing every single argument with their girlfriend? Things like that,
One of my favorite things is the boyfriend that has kept the pictures, the bikini pictures, for years and years and years, and how it like backfires on him over and over and over again in the series.
Won't let him go.
And he won't let him go, like because so. Weird personal story. Like I was at like an outdoor event in my hometown, literally like last Friday. I saw my first girlfriend. Like, she was there with her kids and whatever, doing her own thing.
Oh, like Splendor in the Grass.
And there was this moment where I was like, should I talk to her? And I like felt teenage nervousness. I was like, I haven't seen her in like 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
Should I say anything? And we both kind of made eye contact, and I know we both recognized each other. And in that moment, we were both so embarrassed that we didn't know what to say, that we just didn't say anything. Like, and I feel like your books evoke that a lot of the time. This sense of like, holy crap, what do I do? I'm going to do nothing. I'm going to do nothing.
Think about it for the rest of my life.
Yeah. So moving on to Rachel Rising, this is a horror book. Like, it's creepy, but it still has like your same like sensibility of like relationship and like the art style that is so like evocative of like, evocative of emotion. Like, how do you approach something so different. Like, or like with Motor Girl, like, I mean, it's got a monkey character. Like, how do you go from?
It's not a monkey; it's a gorilla.
My bad. Sorry, a great ape.
Great ape, yes.
Like, how do you go from? How do you go from like genre to genre so comfortably?
I don't know. When I was writing Strangers in Paradise, I was the guy known for relationships and writing women. And then I would do panels, and people would say, "How do you write women so well?" And I kind of just got to the point where I finally just said, "I don't really understand, but I feel like a writer. I mean, I feel like I could write a serial killer just as well." And people would laugh, and then after I started doing Rachel Rising, they stopped laughing. Because Rachel Rising has a serial killer in it, and I don't know. The first real prose short story I ever wrote was a horror story.
Huh.
When I was 13, and I don't know. I've always I liked all the old horror movies, the black and whites, and most of the Hammer films. So I always had that in my head. And one of the things when I finished Strangers in Paradise, people were telling me, "Oh, you moved me emotionally in a romantic way when I read it." And then once I felt like, okay, I managed to make a comic book, a 2D on paper thing that reads, that gives that, and the reader gets that emotion. That's pretty cool. I wonder if I can give somebody reading a comic book the creeps.
Yeah.
Can I get that emotion too out of a reader? And it's, when you think about it, it's just a piece of paper with a drawing on it. It's hard to imagine that you could actually affect somebody emotionally, but if you can suck them into the story and then take a right turn, that's the fun of creating.
So when you're like trying to like, I'm actually going to retract that question. Cut that moment. Sorry. Mark, cut.
Mark, cut, delete. God damn it. No.
Now I can't cut it.
So in Strangers in Paradise, there's a lot of song lyrics and a lot of like poetry. And I've never done my due diligence to look up like the names of the music, of the songs and of the writers. Are those songs from other people, or are those things that you've written?
In the original printings, it's half and half. And then when I started making the pocketbooks and getting into bookstores, I replaced in the pocketbooks, I replaced all of the other people's music with my own. And I was originally a musician, and I wrote a lot of songs, and I kept those notes in those notebooks. And when it was time for Strangers in Paradise, I just threw everything I could make into it: poetry, songs, music. I just made it my one creative vehicle. A lot of people will have a creative idea for this and one for that, one for that. I just put it all into one title.
And it seems like you're very comfortable going from scripting to poetry to prose, because there's really lengthy pieces of prose, the quote unquote Strangers in Paradise novel that Kachu is reading,
Yeah.
And with that comfort level, I mean, would you ever feel like I could write a whole novel, or I could write this? Like, is that something that you would ever feel comfortable reading, or do you like being able to put all of your things into that one basket?
I'm actually for the old time Strangers in Paradise fans, I'm famous for not writing the novel, because I always said, I think I'll write a follow-up story, but it'll be a novel format. And so people were always waiting for a novel that never came. And what I've discovered is I can't write a novel and be on a comic book deadline at the same time.
Okay.
Because the drawing takes forever. So I wish that I was disciplined enough to work on the novel for 2 hours every morning at 5 a.m., but I'm not.
Yeah, I always set myself that goal when it comes to my writing, and I always don't do it.
No, it's not going to happen.
Or like workout schedule too. I'll wake up at 5 and go to the gym.
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
No, I don't think so.
Not today. Maybe tomorrow.
There's just too many times where I'm getting to bed at 4, so
Right.
The 5 really sucks.
So you have new issues of Strangers in Paradise coming out. I have purchased them, and they are in my pull box, but I have not had a chance to read them. Where are the characters going from here?
They all join a nunnery and sit in a circle, and nothing happens.
I would
How
still
about
read
that?
the crap out of that. So
For 20 pages.
I would. I absolutely would read that if they just sat there. I'd be like, "This is so great. What is he trying to tell me?"
And tell each other their faults, like Festivus.
Or like, what? Never mind. I'm not gonna. There's a cult that I read about, but I can't remember. The Process Church.
The process.
They would sit in like circles and literally criticize each other until you were willing to accept all of your criticism. So it seems
Okay, well, what if you accept it in the first 1 minute and you're done?
Yeah.
You
Hey guys, I'm
graduate?
out. Yeah.
I'm out. You win.
You win.
Okay, well, the basic setup for the new series is that it's 5 years after the big series ended, and they have a beautiful. Kachu has a beautiful family, and I'm not trying not to give too many spoilers.
Yeah.
And so she's happy, but she has a bad past, and somebody from the past has been hauled in front of a Senate committee and has threatened to made an immunity deal to tell the Senate everything about the Parker girls, which Kachu belonged to, and she doesn't want. If this information gets out, her life is ruined. So she goes to try to find that person to stop them from telling, and that person runs, and it becomes kind of a chase story.
Oh, cool. I'm excited. I'm very excited to read it, but it's like it's one of those things. I have so many stacks of comics at home that I'm like, they end up being in alphabetical order.
Well, you just need to kick.
S is like 3/4.
No, just kick them over, find the S one, and pull it out.
I'm really close. Like right now, I'm really close. I have them in my bag though, so.
Let me reorder those for you.
Yeah. Would you like to order 8 extra copies for me?
Yeah.
You did a commission for me this weekend. You drew Conan the Barbarian for me.
Oh, yes, I did.
I am super, super grateful for. When you get commissions like mine that are oddball, how do you approach that? Because I've always wondered.
If it's something I really don't want to draw, I'll say no. But if it's something I've never drawn, like Conan, I think, I would like to do that because, I don't want to get into a rut. And so I'm happy to look at new things. And when I have to draw Conan, even though I've read Conan growing up and, everything, still when I have to draw him, I have to go back and really look at him for a minute and be in his shoes. And it's nice escape to do it.
That's cool. I'm going to be super positive about it. It's such an amazing sketch. And when I showed it to my wife, I've been talking to her a lot about the character because I'm working on doing a YouTube thing about it. And I talked about how he's always talked about as, full of great melancholy and great mirth. And the way you drew him, he's got a little bit of a grin. But my wife said he captured the sadness in his eyes. And I was like, man, this is the best. So I'm so excited.
When I was drawing it, you have to choose what's your moment. And usually when you see a Conan drawing, it's his moment of power. And I thought, I always like to draw before or after the moment. And I took the moment afterwards where the whatever he just pillaged is on fire behind him. And he's tired. It's been a long day of fighting. And you get that look where you're looking up at him and he's looking down at you. And he's already made up his mind whether he's going to kill you or not. And one or the other is about to happen. And I can't tell if he's tired of the killing or if he's going to let us go.
That's awesome. I love it. I'm so proud to have it. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Because it's a con, I have to keep these interviews pretty short. Tell our listeners, how can they find you online and how can they get a hold of your books?
I hope I'm easy to find. I am Terry Moore Art on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. And we have a website that's easy to find. Just, Google me and you'll get the website. And there's a store there where you can buy anything.
Very cool. Well, Terry, thank you so much for your